Brother Anthony, thank you and welcome back to what we're doing here. I know we were going to speak a little bit about the Sophia Wisdom. You had touched on that last time among the other things you were talking about when you were reacting to the video we did, that I did, the Bible, Your Bible is Gay, which is a video from a while back. But I know you wanted, and we were having a conversation, and you had mentioned the idea that really the ideas that we've been talking about with lots of people in the church about becoming, how God and us are kind of more in the same than a lot of people say. Maybe in this, we can be God and God can be us, and how opposites are become blended. And you were saying just before we got on about the idea that the story of Sophia Wisdom, that story, which I have a little familiarity with from times reading parts of it, but I know maybe a lot of people don't know. Maybe some people do. Any of them will benefit from what you have to say. I would if you'd like to, Brother Anthony, perhaps talk about those mysteries and any other mysteries you want to talk about that we've been conversing about, by talking a little bit about the Sophia Wisdom story for those who may not be familiar, and then what lessons you'd like to draw from it. It's a long introduction, friend. Welcome. Thank you.
Well, to me, honestly, the story is like a reflection. She embarked on a great journey. This is how it goes. Because it's deeper than this, but I'm going to kind of gravitate really quickly. She embarked on a journey, and she went too far from the Paroma. The Paroma is pretty much heaven, God, whichever you want to call it.
Paroma.
It's where all existence came from.
I see.
Better. She embarked on a journey from the Paroma and went too far. And by going too far, she ripped the fabric of space and gave birth to what we call the Demiurge. Well, the Demiurge we like to call Satan. I call it within ourselves. Like, to me, it's a story of a reflection of who we are and how we kind of come about, because most people don't realize that Demiurge is none other than the ignorant side of herself. So she gives birth to this malleable being, which we call Satan, Yaldabaoth. So, by doing so, Yaldabaoth is basically the uncontrollable part of herself, her desire to create and be her own God, whatever, how you want to call it. But it's none other than light and dark, ignorance and truth, if you want to call it. It's probably might be the best way to explain it. Well, anyways, she fell, she split into two, like I just said, devil and God, which to me is a reflection of us, because the Gospel of Thomas, like we said, heaven is within ourselves and hell is within ourselves. So we could be Sophia, or we could be the Demiurge. It all depends on us.
You had mentioned that we were going to, maybe, if at your convenience, we could do more and have another video about the Gospel of Thomas, if that's okay with you. I'd love to. I know we were talking about that and expand.
Yeah,
on
I gotta get a lot more of my information together, so it might take a couple weeks.
Oh, sure,
but
yeah.
We could probably definitely do one like that.
Well, the studies you've done over these years, I think, is coming to fruition in various ways in your life, but also in the fact that it kind of contributes to the things we're doing here. And I really appreciate how we're kind of all coming together in a goddess way, and also having that be part of God. You were saying something before about how Sophia kind of is the god as well as is a goddess. It's kind of in the same, says the Gnostic, understanding of her has a lot to do with a lot of the writings of Gnosticism and a lot of I think I mentioned that. Oh, go ahead.
It's like a dualistic. It like sets like a dualistic nature
Right.
of things. Where like I was telling you earlier, like you could either be the predator or you could be the prey.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of institutions kind of prey on people that are either not know nothing about what they're getting into, or just kind of suckers them in.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like cults and those, and sometimes government things.
Yeah. See, then you can get sucked in by those things, but
is it really? I think a lot of it in a world like this, where things like that happen a lot, and also just people living day by day in work environments that are toxic. That obviously there's so many ways in which people get stuck in having to interact with people who really are judgmental. And I think the judgment comes really from not understanding this mystery that you're bringing up, the Sophia mystery and the Demiurge coming from her, and how we are simultaneously positive and negative, if you will, or light and darkness is another way to say it. There's so many ways to say it, and obviously other cultures have delved into that wisdom too. I mean, famously Taoism is the symbolic, of the yin yang concept. But there's so many ways that various cultures of the planet are dealing with this mystery, both in the past and the present.
yes.
But it's a judgment. If you understood that you had negative and positive and various other things we haven't even talked about, and that was kind of your joy to explore rather than to suppress and condemn yourself and others and project onto others what you can't handle in yourself and that kind of thing, we would have a much more balanced reality. This is one of the reasons that I really appreciate stories and scriptures and what you're doing, talking about it.
Yeah, because like people don't understand. There's light, dark, but there's also a middle way where there's children that are light and dark.
Speak to that, friend. Talk about that.
That's like yourself. You understand the concept of heaven and hell, or however else you want to take it. It's when you understand that is part of you. All right, like the story of Sophia, how Sophia is everything, because in a certain sense, when you want something to evolve, you have to go through a struggle to get to it. So say like you're trying to get out of destruction and go to light. You know what I mean? Light. Well, you have to learn what destruction is trying to teach you in order to get to creation. It's like a journey of evolution, kind of.
Huh, that's a good way to look at it.
Or gnosis, like we call it, gnosis. It's a journey of gnosis. And at each step, at each way, you learn how to either control yourself, or in some cases, people can't control it and they become wild.
Right.
You kind of, so like light and dark, you need it. You need to know when to say no in life. That's not happening.
Right.
You kind of get what I mean? Like, no, you're not going to continue to run over me.
Right.
No. So in that case, all you're doing is, if you have light, you're just going to give and give and give and give. And what really help are you doing for this person? You're not really helping them.
Mm.
You think you're helping them, but you're really crippling them.
Well, then, in that case,
now,
right.
Because now they can't go out, they're depending on, they become codependent. Well, we're supposed to be independent.
Which is interesting. If I could take a little sideways, to the snake in the Garden of Eden is the wisdom, Sophia wisdom possibly. I mean, you could speak to that also, but the idea of the woman's wisdom, and that is the kind, that actually broke us out of that codependency with God.
Yep. Because we are more powerful beings than that. It's kind of like she was like, come on, if you take a bite out of this food, you will no longer become pets. You will be your own masters.
Right.
You will learn wisdom and understand what you are, which is part of God. every human person is a part of God. They have the eyes of light. The light shines in their eyes. They are part of God. Whether they are evil or not, they are all part of God. And we are playing a story.
So let me...
The great story of Sophia, of her weaving her web and bringing back all her children back to her.
Lovely. You say weaving web, is that metaphoric, or is there a relationship between her and those kind of arts?
Well, the relationship we have with her is she is the light that shines in every human person or every being. For instance, the dog has life. Like, you could pretty much say Sophia is life. Like it says in the Bible, there was the word and life. They both, well, life should have a capital L because it means just as much as the word. So what is the essence that inhabits us? That's what we would call our essence.
And that is the Sophia mystery. I mean, that is Sophia, really. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's very...
The light within, the light of life.
How would you reckon the relationship between Holy Spirit and Sophia? Is it a direct relationship, or are they different kinds of things?
Well, like it's like two different sets of like patriarchs. Like Sophia is part of the hierarchy, but like you would be talking about like the monad, which is the father in mythology, and then would come the Great Mother, which would be the Holy Spirit. In our existence, that would be Sophia.
I see.
In the Paroma's existence, that would be a completely different, I believe, a completely different entity entirely.
I see.
So, like, there's a higher Sophia and a lower Sophia, which pretty much you can look at it as. The higher Sophia is in the Paroma, and the lower Sophia is here.
Could you say what higher Sophia means and lower Sophia means as far as qualities or descriptions of them?
Like, one will signify wisdom and the other will signify, like, ignorance.
The lower
like
one would
Demiurge.
be ignorance.
Because it's like you forget, it's like you're in darkness.
Right.
That's what I mean. Like, ignorance is darkness. And not knowing where you came from is ignorance, is darkness.
And that is her too. Why is that also Sophia, friend? If you could break it down for people who may not understand that.
What is Sophia, the Demiurge?
How is she also ignorance in that way? She's obviously wisdom.
Because when she split, she became the Demiurge. Demiurge is ignorance.
And also the rebellion and creativity also, you're saying. Kind of like the subconscious in a way almost.
Yes, it's like conscious, subconscious. You kind of see what I mean? It's like a dualistic. If you look at it, it's a dualistic nature everywhere you are. Like, you want to light yourself. You have your self-conscious and you have your unconscious. You want to light your unconscious and bring it into consciousness.
That makes sense.
You kind of get what I mean?
Right. Which is interesting because a lot of like 20th century psychotherapy with Freud or Jungian work is all about that too. Even though they didn't give it credit to the mystical reality of Sophia's or God or any of that, they just looked at it as like conscious and subconscious, conscious and unconscious, depending on who you talk to.
Because your subconsciousness, no matter what, is running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your unconscious is running because your unconscious is like makes up your reality.
Right.
It kind of seems like. So, your consciousness is what takes control of reality. Where some people are stuck in a state of ignorance and they have to learn the hard way, which is going through suffering, pain, darkness, ignorance. You gotta get what I mean?
I see,
because once you get to the truth, you realize that we are fundamentally spirits, and fundamentally spirits don't die. We just resume another avatar. We go, we learn for a while, we witness, and then we come back down and live life again.
I love this. In a way that could be the God itself, or himself, or herself, or themselves, coming out of, coming into existence and then fading out. Eyes open of the God, close of the God. The universe opens and closes. And that's the bigger version of us as individuals doing what you're saying.
Buddha has the same outlook, because I love Buddhism.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different, and that's what makes all the different religions in that spawned ancient era. They all speak of the same thing. They're all saying fundamentally the same things. They're just saying it in many different other ways. So, that's why it says I don't believe in one way. How do we really exist, or how do we really explain the expression that exists within us? There's fundamentally, we can try to explain what fundamentally exists within us, but I think we lack knowledge and come far short of truly expressing what is within us.
And that is why, in a way, we're always kind of coming into existence again, because there's always more to learn, and there's always ways we kind of forget. Even ourselves forget, but also our culture forgets, our people forget, nations forget, even our species over time forgets things and then remembers them again. I think that's really, yeah, go ahead.
I think some of us are recycled and come back down, and since we know we're meant to teach others, but somewhere along the line, we've lost that and ended up saying, I'm right, you're wrong.
Right.
Well, I'm going to blow you up, you're going to blow me up. And
Judgment again. Judgment is really the curse. It's interesting because we're all bodhisattvas. It's kind of what you're saying, is that we're all enlightened beings coming back over time, but we forget in our lifetime we were bodhisattvas, and then we become slaves to samsara, slaves to the world, and don't help each other anymore, and just start competing and hurting each other.
Yeah, pretty much, because you look around and that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's harsh, but that's a form of us evolving. Not only that, it's sad, but it's a form of God.
How is it a form of God, friend? Tell me, I agree with you.
It's a form of God warred against other people. Which, that's what we would call Satan. The one who comes and divides you.
Right.
And makes you try to understand that this is the way it is. And, for instance, I hate using this, but for instance, let's say white, black. How divided are white people from black people?
Right,
How divided is a Palestinian from an Israelite?
Right.
Those are the things that we need to heal instead of focusing on,
the war itself.
Who's right, who's wrong,
right?
Because in your own scriptures it says, "Love thy neighbor."
Yes,
thy neighbor is everyone, because everybody's a part of God.
That's right. Friend, that's amazing. I love how we, as we interact, and how you, on your journey, have come to places of real relevance, even though we're not necessarily trying to comment on the world right now, but it always comes around. It really is that judgment, that feeling of over-concern with the struggle of the demiurge and ignorance and knowledge, and the fight between ignorance and knowledge, rather than just accept and submit to the fact of peace, submit to the fact of love, submit to the fact that you are godlike, and submit to yourself being godlike, and you can go infinite. But then you get to the point where, really, if we are all Sophia inside, you can't hurt someone else, even if they're really disagreeing with you. It's the wrong way to go about it, And of course, the world is stuck in the hell that, as you say, it's almost like the deranged God, or derangement of God has taken over the rest in a way, taken over at least a lot of the people in the world.
Well, yeah, and that it's time to give us a kick in the fucking ass to get this the enlightenment program going, because we all are enlightened beings.
Yes.
You know, metaphorically, we are. We need to. Our job is to teach people and to enjoy life and love life.
Definitely.
Because there's nothing greater than that, coming down here and living as a human.
Yeah.
And going back. There's nothing greater than having that choice of coming down here and either teaching or just enjoying life.
Oh, bless.